and welcome to the third event of our Hastings Storytelling Festival. Sorry for those of you that have heard me say this before, but it's our 10th year, so it's very exciting for us to have been on the road for 10 years and developing new audiences. Obviously, we've got new online audiences, which means this year we're meeting people from all over the world and reaching new audiences, which is very exciting for us. You can help us by writing in the chat and telling us of your experiences, some of the benefits or disadvantages for having our festival online. I would imagine that we probably won't go back to an in-person only event. It's lovely to welcome more people, obviously. We should be having a goddess festival this year with Xanthe Gresham. So Xanthe and I had been working out how that was going to happen in person and how we were going to welcome you. And so I spoke to Xanthe and said, let's do something online. So we've got these 4 evenings. And then Xanthe's just been amazing and has invited lots of guests from all over the world. So we've been to Uruguay and Denmark. And I think tonight we've got somebody joining us from Argentina. So that's been fabulous. Thank you, Xanthe. Xanthe's films are lovely too. She'll talk you through the sort of the timings for this evening and what to expect in a moment. Obviously, we've got another event with Xanthe again tomorrow, and then more events on the Hastings Storytelling Festival website. So do have a look and book for other things. Everything that's in person is sold out, but you can join us online. And you know, we're really enjoying these digital evenings with Xanthe so far. Last thing to tell you was that we're recording this evening, but it shouldn't affect you at all. So you won't be seen as audience members, but we will record your chat and your feedback. We wouldn't name you, but please do share as much as you can and help us to put on events in the future. So I think that's it from me. I'm going to hand over to Xanthe. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mandy, and thank you everybody for coming. You've seen the guests that are going to be here tonight. So we've got Anna Lines and Gisella Reyes, Laura Coppin and Tanya Batt. There'll be the film, and then each of our guests will be in conversation with me. And then there may be time for a question and answer at the end. We'll see. But thank you so much, and let's get going. Welcome to How to Be a Kitchen Goddess. Today is cake day. We're going to make gluten-free, sugar-free chocolate cake. It does have eggs in, but eggs from happy chickens, some of them very, very happy because they're my mother-in-law's. And we're also going to talk. Stories can inspire love for things like the fruits and flowers of the earth, and when you love something, you look after it. I first came across this story in Angela Carter's Virago Book of Fairy Tales. There was once a sultan who was jealous of a tinker because he had a wife as curvy as fruit in a bowl, whereas his wife was as thin as a stick of cinnamon and as sharp as a lemon. "Tinker, tinker, what do you do?" said the sultan. "Ah," said the tinker, "I feed my wife meat of the tongue." Said the sultan, and he stocked up his palace. He force-fed his wife fried, salted, beaten, braised, boiled meat of the tongue. She only got more skinny, more miserable. You would. "I demand a swap," said the sultan. "My wife for yours." The tinker cried, but what could he do? The tinker's wife went to the sultan, and the sultan's wife went to the tinker. But the tinker's wife got thinner and thinner day by day, so that the sultan was really worried that every night when she had a bath in her own tears, that she would be sucked down the plug hole. Whereas the sultan's wife with the tinker got luscious and happy and curvaceous. "What is going on? By fork and by knife, wives are trouble and strife. Tinker, I did everything you said. I force-fed my wife meat of the tongue." "What? You force-fed your wife?" "No, you've misunderstood me. I talk to her. I feed her meat of the tongue, or more importantly, I listen to her. And yes, I say, 'You're lovely. You're lovely. Singing, lovely.'" sighing, lovely, crying, lovely. You should try it. Don't take back my wife. Oh, lovely. Oh, you are lovely. You're lovely. I'm lovely. I know you're lovely. I'm lovely. You're lovely. By pudding and spoon, not a moment too soon. So I think we're in the mood for a bit of cake. You don't just have to tell stories to people, you can tell stories to the land or the fruits of the land. People have been making offerings to the gods since the beginning of time. And goddesses are personifications of the spirit of the earth. They might vary in shape or form from country to country, but they're all essentially earth avatars. And we're going to make a cake dedicated to the Queen of the Stars, the general goddess. So we've got 750 grams of dates, 12 eggs, 9 tablespoons of cocoa, vanilla essence, vanilla pod, cinnamon, 1.5 teaspoons of lemon juice, 3 teaspoons of bicarb and 360 grams of almonds. But that's very prosaic and very dry. Let's see if we can do a bit better than that. Let's get started. Making the cake of the Queen of the Stars, fruits from the food of her earth avatars. These are the eggs from my mother-in-law's hens, hens that were free to run, safe in their pens. Making the cake of the Queen of the Stars, fruits from the food of her earth avatars. These are the dates, lusciously lush, dates that were stoned and then mulched into mush, 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 mush. Mixed with the eggs from my mum-in-law's hens, hens that were free to run safe in their pens. Making the cake of the Queen of the Stars, fruits from the food of her earth avatars. These are the almonds, all naked and white, ground into flour to make the cake light. Ha ha! Do feel free to join in with the rhythms, by the way. Ha ha! Ha ha! Ha ha! Ha ha! Mixed with the dates, so lusciously lush, dates that were stoned and then mulched into mush, mulch, 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 mulch. Mixed with the eggs from my mum-in-law's hens, hens that were free to run safe in their pens. Making the cake of the Queen of the Stars, fruits from the food of her earth avatars. Now for vanilla and chocolate and spice. This one I scraped, this powdered, this spliced. Scrape, scrape, splice, splice, scrape, scrape, splice, splice. Mixed with the almonds, all naked and white, ground into flour to keep the cake light. Ha ha! Ha ha! Mixed with the dates, so lusciously lush, dates that were stoned and then mulched into mush, mulch, 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 mulch. I think it's time we stopped playing around and got on with creating the cake. So I'm going to put the eggs in. I'm going to give it a bit of a mix. Okay, and now we're going to add the rest of the dry ingredients. In go the almonds, cocoa powder, tad of extra vanilla essence, and the scrapings, cinnamon, and a little bit of lemon juice, bicarb. Fold it all in. It's now mixed and ready. I'm going to put it into the cake tin. There it goes. Lovely, gooey, muddy, chocolatey, delightful cake mixture. Great, in the oven. Time to wash the hands. Who is the Queen of the Stars? Well, many of the earth avatars could fill that role. Artemis from the Greeks, or Oshirini, Lithuanian, or Nut, Egyptian. But we're going to look at Inanna, who is the earliest star goddess from Sumeria. First, I'm going to get some mango because we're going to make the decorations for the cake. Inanna fell from heaven to earth on the back of a moonbeam. As she fell, she hit against an apple tree. An apple fell and split. She looked at the star inside the apple and said, "It's a sign. I'm queen of the stars. I should also be queen of the earth." From around the trunk of the tree, a snake said, "First, you need the wisdom of the earth." She looked at the snake and she said, "Well, where am I going to get that from?" He said, "Your father Enki stole it from your mother." And in one drumbeat of her heart, Inanna remembered her father Enki. He had long red fingernails and long flowing hair, and he was the king of mischief. She said, "Well, if my father stole it from my mother, we'll just go and get it back again." The snake unwound from the tree, slithered up her body and wound around her head. They went into the desert and they walked from new moon to full moon to new moon, until in front of them they saw a palace, and around the palace was a moat of water. She said, "Snake, did my father steal water from my mother as well as wisdom?" The snake said, "Yes." From the palace, Enki, father, was looking out. He said, "Oh, servants, it's my daughter, Inanna. Get some cake. She likes cake. Get some beer. I like beer." When Inanna and Enki were reunited, they skipped with delight. "You're taller," said Enki. "You're wider," thought Inanna. Beer? The thing was, Enki could drink a lot of beer. Inanna could eat a lot of cake. The difference between beer and cake is that beer makes you drunk and cake doesn't. "Father," said Inanna, "have you got anything that I could remember my mother by?" No, he said, no, nothing. Can't think of anything. Never mind, she said. "More beer?" "Well, maybe a little something," said Enki, and he swayed towards a dusty hole in the floor. "What about," she said, "what about one little thing that I found here, the crown of the desert?" And Inanna said, "Well, actually, I've already got my own crown, my snake, but thanks very much, Father, I'll take it anyway." And she put it on her head. "Maybe something else. What about courage and travel?" "Oh, Father," said Inanna, "you know, I've come all the way from heaven to earth on the back of a moonbeam, walked through the desert with only a snake for company. I'm quite courageous and I'm extremely well travelled." He said, "Well, what about, let's see, singing, dancing, playing, fighting, cursing, praising, painting, writing?" She said, "Father, now you are talking." He said, "What about woodworking, stone building, craft, precision, the gift of judgment, the force of decision, the art of the blacksmith, the power of the hero, the great above and the great below?" Inanna gathered all the wisdom close to her heart. The snake, in sheer excitement, slithered down her body, did a little spiral on the floor and slithered back. When they went out, the waters uncurled from around the palace and made a line through the dry desert. And a shell boat, whoosh, came towards them. Inanna, her snake, and all the wisdom got in the boat, travelled through the desert, and when she got back to the city of her people, the gates opened and she went in. "Who wants singing, playing? Take it, children. Who wants cursing and fighting? Take it, warriors. Who wants crafts? Take it, stone builders. We love you, we love you, we love you." She started to notice that from the wooden boards of the boat, she was creating her own wisdom, wit, gems, jewels, healing, drums, coal, herbs, feelings. Meanwhile, back in the middle of the desert, Enki woke up in his palace and passed his hand across his forehead. He staggered to the dusty hole in the floor. "Monsters, get back my wisdom!" And Enki's monsters were an earth monster, a bird monster, and a sea monster. They strode and swam and flew to Inanna's city. "Give back Enki's wisdom!" "No," said Inanna, "he gave it freely. Come to me, monsters. You're just like your mother." said the monsters. The bird monster came to Inanna and gave her wings. The sea monster gave her claws, and the earth monster gave her muscles. Inanna's rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates, still flow through Western Asia. And on the subject of rivers, we're going to get rivers of cream to decorate our cake. And our local rivers to Sussex are the Uck, the Ouse and the Cuckmere. And of course in Britain you've got Bridget's River, Brant or Brainter in Wales. And then you've got the Thames, which was originally called Tem Isis, and the tributary in Oxford is still called Isis, but let's go and get that river. Here it is. This is vegan cream, plant-based, but you can use regular cream as much as you like. There it is, still quite soppy. And let's get the cake out the oven. Yes, okay. There we go. And there we are. I'm going to put some jam on the base. It's still quite hot, but jam will be fine. This is homemade plum jam. And I've also made the top of the cake. It's just to give a little bit of moisture that I made earlier. So I'm going to bring that over and decorate it. It's just really to stick the two together. So we'll slide the top of the cake. Now all these earth avatar goddesses were expert at pouring out bounty. So this is the cream. I'm just going to pour it all on. In a little village in Mexico called Guadalupe, beside the river of Guadalupe, there lived an Aztec Indian by the name Juan Diego. He had a broad forehead, black hair, dark eyes, and it was the middle of the night, and he was just holding out his hands and contemplating how they were the same hands that had nursed his wife when she was dying, buried their stillborn children, so tiny they could fit in his palms, and the same hands that were nursing his uncle, that obviously wasn't going to live much longer. He listened to the of his breath. He decided to go to church. He went out of his little hut, and as soon as he did, he saw that there was a silver light coming from the hill of Tonnatzin, and at the hill of Tonnatzin there was a girl beneath the star of Venus. And I have rolled out a marzipan face. What I used was brown food colouring, rolled it out and then painted on the face. I'll just go and get it now. So I'm just going to put the face on, and she had hair that was rolling down to her shoulders like mole when it coats the back of the spoon. Mole is a kind of chocolate spicy thing that you put in stews and soups. And her hands. And what I'm going to do is decorate with some blueberries here to show the cloak that goes down in folds to her ankles, decorated with stars. She said, Dieguito, go to the bishop and ask him to build me a church here on the hill of Tonnatzin. I was just transfixed, full up with the vision, like a baby's full up of milk. He ran down the hill, and even though it was at least a 2-hour journey, he got to the bishop in what seemed like seconds, and he began to speak in a stream of Nahuatl. The drowsy bishop just showed his baldy head and said, interesting. If she comes back, do return, but bring a sign. We need a sign. And he was out on his ear on the cold earth. He was furious. He went back. The star of Venus was still there, rays all around the beautiful young girl. And he said, why didn't you go directly to the baldy bishop or to some pointy-nosed, pointy-bearded Spaniard? They want a sign. She said, Juan Dieguito, don't worry about anything. Come back tomorrow and I'll give you a sign. But when he got back To his uncle, it was clear that he wouldn't last to the end of the day. He nursed him through the day, through the night, and in the early hours, his uncle said, "Priest, priest." He ran out into the dark night, but there was that silver light again. And on top of the hill of Tonatsin, she was there, but this time she was surrounded not just by the bright rays, but also by flowers, roses, red roses, orange roses, in the middle of winter. "Your sign," she said. "Why worry about anything? Are you not in the folds of my mantle, in the crossing of my arms? Am I not the fountain of life?" She came towards him, and with cool hands she untied his apron, which was made of cactus fibres, and she bundled up the roses in the cactus fibres. And so he took them to the bishop, and as soon as he entered the room of the bishop and let fall the roses, the scent, like a miracle in the middle of winter, filled the room, but nobody was looking at the flowers. He couldn't understand it. They were all looking directly at him, and when he looked down, he saw that on his apron, perfectly drawn and painted, was an image of the girl on the hill of Tonatsin. And that image has stayed with the stars on the cloak. And actually I've made some stars made out of marzipan and decorated with gold leaf for her cloak. One of the names of the Virgin Mary is Stella Maris, Star of the Sea. As I was saying, a perfect image of the girl on the hill of Tonatsin was imprinted onto the cactus fibre. Juan Diego gave the apron to the bishop, a real sign, and he returned to his uncle and found him completely healed and well for another 10 years. But that apron, a church was built around it on the hill of Tonatsin, and it was so popular that another church and another church, it's now the third church on the hill of Tonatsin, and this image, after 480 years, hasn't shown any sign of deteriorating. Mariachi bands play, children throw balloons, but to get the true picture of the old goddess Tonatsin, because of course it is her hill, you have to come down from on high to the bars and the brothels. And if the Virgin of Guadalupe is the goddess of life, Sancta Muerte is the goddess of death. You often see her in the Day of the Dead, so you'll have a skull and bones, but lots of flowers, the two combined. So I'm going to just put some flowers on the corners of our cake here, and some flowers all around the edges. And if I get my Sancta Muerte mug and a little bit of whiskey, perfect. Back to the cake. So we've made the cake of the Queen of the Stars. Fruits from the foods of her earth avatars. All the ingredients held in one shape, the earth in her dress and the stars in her drape. Death at her feet, new life at her heart. Choose from her symbols. They're all a la carte. Oh, that's good.
Oh, she's gorgeous.
So who's going to have some cake?
Yay!
Oh, so I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks so much to Kathy Hammad for the filming and direction of that piece. Yes, I just wanted to say that I think my favourite line in that storytelling is, "Are you not in the folds of my mantle, in the crossing of my arms? Am I not the fountain of life?" And we're going to be talking in the conversations a bit about the fountain of life and also grandmas. Because when I was a child, my grandma was a fast track to feeling connected. If something went wrong, she would pick me up and gather me as if in the folds of her mantle, and everything would be okay. She would be connected to me, I would be connected to her, and all was well with the world. So here's a picture of my grandma here. Yeah, there she is. And as time's gone on, I sometimes use my grandma. You can use anything really in this method that I have. It can sometimes be my dog or a good friend or my mother, but somebody who has an unconditional font of love. I think of them, and then I shift over to something like the Virgin of Guadalupe and her symbols. So I might start thinking about the stars and the crescent moon. And then pretty soon I sort of feel connected to Earth and the Earth avatars, and all is well. And then I sometimes think that the Virgin of Guadalupe also had a grandma. She was called Tonantzin. Adam, could you show the image of Tonantzin there? Because her symbols are a little bit more hardcore. She's got skulls around her waist and snakes sprouting out of her head. The skulls stand for death and the snakes stand for rebirth and new life. But I often wonder to myself, how, out of all the many goddesses that you can choose from, I landed on the Virgin of Guadalupe. And I was thinking about it after I finished this film, and I traced it back 10 years to when I was in Mexico. And I was telling stories in schools, and I was with a girl called Gisella Reyes. Adam, I don't know if you've got the photo of Gisella there. It's usually number 2. She's outside of Frida Kahlo's house. I got in a bit of bother really with Gisella in Mexico, and we needed help out of it. And in those days, I hadn't worked out how to go from grandma to Virgin of Guadalupe to Tonantzin. And so who helped us out of it but Gisella's grandma? And we're really lucky because we've got Gisella Reyes on Zoom here today. So could we let Gisella come into the chat, into the conversation? Hi, Gisella.
Hi. Hi, I'm here. How are you?
So nice to see you. So nice to see you. So do you remember that stay in Mexico at the Santa Rosa Suites?
Yeah, I remember. Of course, I remember.
Yes. And we were going, it was near the Day of the Dead, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, I guess it was like 2 or 3 days before the day of the death. Yeah.
Yes, because we were going into schools and they were full of these orange cempasúchil flowers, weren't they? And you're supposed to sort of invite the dead along this path of cempasúchil flowers, and then the kids would all have tables with altars on, and they would probably have things like, you know, the picture of your grandma or your...
Of course.
Hi.
Yeah.
But do you remember next to our hotel, there was a square of that bandit?
Yeah, it was a square and it has a statue of Agapito Treviño.
Right. And
Yeah.
he was kind of a Robin Hood figure, wasn't he?
Yeah, exactly. He stole to the rich people to give the money to the poor people.
Yeah. And you're from Argentina, and tango's the home there. And he used to dance with them, didn't he? And then take their wallets.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He asked, I mean, when he stole the money, he asked the people to dance and then he stole the money.
Okay, that's it. Right.
Yeah.
He was also executed in that square, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Along
He
with
was murdered.
Okay.
Yeah.
So think about this, did we? We went into our nice room, and I have to say it was nicer than any of the rooms we got. We were on a schools tour, weren't we? And they were usually pretty basic. We had my room, bathroom, your room, right?
Exactly. It was a very, very big room.
Yeah.
Because it has like a living room in the middle.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. It has a living room in the middle, and then it was on one side, it was your room, and on the other side, it was my room.
Yes.
And I guess we had like two bathrooms. I can't remember.
It was kind of like a Jack and Jill, so you could both use the same bathroom.
Oh, okay.
But I remember the strange thing was the safe, which is very important, was off its hinges. And in the middle of the night, I woke up with a kind of whistling in my dream and then outside. And I had this sense that there was somebody there. And I was doing kind of Buddhist chanting. I thought, okay, I didn't dare turn the light on. I went and I did a bit of chanting and it didn't work. And then I had plants to take into the schools of the orange flowers. And I decided to follow the advice of a storyteller I know, Nell Phoenix, who said she'd once been haunted and she wafted the ghost out. So I made a path of the flowers, opened the window and tried to waft it out. It didn't work. And then the next day I didn't tell you because we were working and I thought you'd think I was nuts because we'd only just met. And then the next night it came again. And this time it was terrifying because the panels on the safe were flashing. So that must have meant some kind of poltergeist or something. And I was just sick with fright. And I told you in the morning. And do you remember what you said?
Yeah, I remember that I felt something, but I wasn't sure what it was.
Oh no, wait a minute. You hadn't been haunted yet then. No, what you said, you would contact your grandma.
Exactly.
No.
I mean, no, that was after that. I mean, at first you told me that you felt something, but you didn't want to tell me so I didn't have to worry about it. But I remember I told you that I felt something weird, but I wasn't sure what it was. And then I guess it was the night after that, or the morning. No, it was morning. And I was sleeping, and I felt something that sat on my feet. And I was like barely awake. And I wasn't sure if I was sleeping or not, but I saw like a shadow of a woman, and he sat on my feet, and I felt that because I felt when she sat, and I was, on my bed, laying on my bed, and I felt like the bed was like this. So the lady was here and I was here, and I felt like all the energy that I had went down directly to her. And I was like so scary. And then I wrote an email to my mom telling her what had happened. And she called my grandma in Uruguay. And my grandma told me that I should get candles, and hopefully we get a priest to go to the hotel. And we went to a church near the hotel. And I talked to the priest, but the priest said that he couldn't go to the hotel. So he was going to pray for us. And then we talked to the people in the hotel, and we asked to change room. We saw like a lot of options, because if they don't change any room, then we'll leave the hotel and move to another. I remember that. But finally they changed the room, and we were in the 4th floor, and then we moved to the 5th floor. But then we spoke to people in the hotel, and I told them what I have seen and what I have lived and everything. And there were some people that they didn't say anything, but I had like a girlfriend in the hotel that was a receptionist, and she told me that that there were some people who have recorded videos of a shadow. And we were in the favorite room of the owner of the hotel, and that was the old lady. She had a terminal cancer, and she was going to die, but she was still alive at that time. So we get the candles, we light up the candles, and after, I guess that it was the night after that, after the prayer, the priest prayed for us, and I guess that just the other night, it didn't, everything was calmed, and we were in a different room, so the lady didn't show up again.
That's exactly it. And I remember that these were the candles we got.
Yeah.
Not these exact ones, I've got so many of them since. They're Virgin of Guadalupe candles. Because, once, and they said to us, and I said, oh yeah, you said you could just leave them burning for 5 days, because I said, you can't leave them burning for 5 days. And you said, this is Mexico. We left them burning for 5 days. Yeah. So thank you, Gisella. Thank you so much. You remember different details. I will say one thing. I know that we were terrified that ghosts might come back on the. I was Googling ghosts because we both felt so terrible, and we thought the ghosts might follow us home. And then we wondered, before we knew about the woman of the hotel, we wondered if we were being haunted by loads of ghosts, if people had been executed on the square. But whoever it was, living or dead, it felt to me like she and your grandma sorted it out.
Yeah. Well, and grandma prayed for us too. She prayed a lot. So I guess that everything helped to, just be away from the ghost.
Oh gosh, thanks to your grandma. Thank you very much, Gisella.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and thanks to the Virgin of Guadalupe, because she is she's kind of a nexus, isn't she? She's kind of like connected to the old goddess grandmas, to my blood grandma, to your grandma, and she's also a political figure. I don't know if we've got the photos running yet, but there's a banner of her being held in the Mexico Revolution. She's this multiform figure, and also she is often connected with the kind of patron saint of Mexico, Frida Kahlo. Oh, look, here we have this. These are the images. This is Tonatzin. Thank you, Adam. These are the Virgins of Guadalupe that you see everywhere. These are the children in the school, one of the many schools we went to. This is Gisella outside. Frida. See. There's the Virgin of Guadalupe Mexican Revolution in the banner. Great, thank you. And I think on that note, let's hear what Ana Lines, the Brazilian storyteller, who's hopefully going to come to the Goddess Festival next year with a show about Frida Kahlo, has to say about these kind of things. I filmed her earlier because she couldn't make the show, or on Zoom anyway. So thank you, Adam, if you could give us.
Being in Guadalupe was interesting because actually the majority of the Mexican people, they know that the Virgin of Guadalupe actually is Azteca goddesses, the mother goddess for the Aztecs. And was very emotional because in Brazil, unfortunately, the indigenous culture was almost killed. But the African culture, the African orishas, goddesses, gods, they are very strong in Brazil, especially in a particular place in the Northeast called Salvador. So there you can see really the two cultures connect and very strong. When I was researching about Frida Kahlo, I've been obsessed by her my whole life. And I always saw her as a kind of goddess with all the characteristics of the goddesses and the stories that you told in your kitchen. So the strength, the love, the kindness, the creativity, the sexuality. I thought, oh, she is the kind of woman who combine all of them. All the elements, even the chocolate cake. Chocolate is very important, as you know, in the Mexican cuisine for everything. So everything was there. So thank you very much for that experience.
Oh, there was the lovely Ana Lines. And we're going to go now to the lovely Laura Coppin, who has been doing the tech for these 3 nights. And those of you that were here on Monday would have seen her beautiful film about the forest. And I rave on and flap on about grandmas and goddesses. But as I keep saying, I do think that it's all a shorthand, what Joseph Campbell would say, a transparence to transcendence. So all these things are trying to connect us just with the forces of life. And someone like Laura goes straight to nature itself. And I think you'll really enjoy this story of hers about how she literally connected with the fountain of life. So over to you, with many thanks, Laura.
Oh, thank you so much for that introduction. You are a living goddess yourself. And I actually realised it would have been my grandmother's 100th birthday on Sunday, which is all rather fitting with this. So yeah, I'd like to share a story of when me and my twin sister backpacked around South Korea, and it actually ended up being one of the most spiritually important experiences of my entire life, and changed its course forever. So I'll keep it quick, but also please forgive me for any terrible pronunciation of the places. So Adam, if you wouldn't mind just starting those pictures and letting them roll. This is just for some context so you can see the kind of place we were walking around. So we started off, this is Sierra, this beautiful mountain range, not too far from the capital, and it's just these stunning mountains and landscapes. And we started having these really connective experiences with nature out there, and each time we did, we started to notice these birds, and they looked exactly like minor birds. So if you can pause on this one quickly, Adam. Yeah, they looked exactly like minor birds, and we were never sure exactly what they were, and I've still not been able to find out because I don't know if the minor bird range is that far, but it would fit if it was. Where every time we started having these incredible moments, we'd look and there would be one really intently watching us in the trees, or they'd start kind of coming with us down paths and things like this. And this is one we saw watching on this mountain, where we interacted with a giant Asian hornet, and my twin sister is scared out of her mind of them, and ended up we were having them come so close and interacting with us, and it was just beautiful. And if you can just keep playing. Then we decided to travel to Yolongdo. So this is Yolongdo, and it's this primordial forest. It's this island off the east coast, and it's completely ancient with only one settlement near the harbour. And we decided to hike to the peak of the mountain there and sleep under the stars because it was so wild. I don't think it's strictly allowed, but it was fine. we weren't caught. And didn't bring enough water, which was my fault. So this is where we were sleeping. This is the view. We watched the sky turn into the sea. So the squid boats lit up like stars over the water. So at night, it was like having these glowing stars on the water. And then as dawn came in, again, the sea looked like clouds rolling in. It was just amazing. And we got to this basin in the morning as dawn broke, which you can see there. So if you wouldn't mind pausing it now, Adam. So we were deliriously dehydrated to the point where we didn't think we were making it home. And we set off down that basin. We could see the scale of it. And we had to cross that entire thing to get back to civilization or any water source. And then maybe 15 minutes down, this bird blocked our path very deliberately and led us into the forest off the track. And we followed it and then found this, and this is my sister at her knees in front of it, found this beautifully walled spring with cups and everything. It was just incredible, and it literally saved our lives. And then it hopped off very wryly. And then if you wouldn't mind playing, went to an island off the south coast called Jeju. And this is Chongjeon Pokpo, if you pause here quickly, which is actually, it's the same area, but that's cool. Funnily enough, with your stories, Xanthe, it said that the 7 nymphs who served the King of Heaven used to slide down moonbeams to bathe there. So it's this beautiful, beautiful island with these incredible waterfalls and natural pools, and one of the most beautiful temples in the whole of the country, which, if you're happy to play again, Adam, is known as Yakshon-sa Temple. And we'd heard that they did these, so here it's absolutely stunning, and we heard that they did these even songs. So if you just pause now, there's a video that I was lucky enough to take there. So we arrived for this even song, and we were the only people there. And as they started, one of these birds hopped up behind us and flew down onto one of the right dragon's whiskers and started singing along with the monks. And we both just completely started sobbing. And I didn't start filming until it was there. And sadly, with phone quality of cameras then, you can't really see it until it comes right back and hops out the door past us. But it was singing along with them. And in this moment, I had a mosquito land on my leg. And obviously with Buddhist teachings, not to take any life, I knew in that moment, and I made a vow to myself that either by action or inaction, I would never take another life again. It felt like we were saved and guided and held by the goddess of nature herself, but kind of every part of nature that walks with you. So to kind of punctuate this, I would like to share a very poor but beautiful phone video of an incredibly life-changing moment. So Adam, if you don't mind playing. Thank you so much. So again, it's not great quality, but what it flew from the dragon on one of the pillars up to one of the dragons to the right of us, and then actually it flew and landed on the balcony again with us, and frozen in shock and awe. It was only, I thought, to turn the camera at the end where you could just see it hopping away out the door again. So yeah, it was absolutely beautiful, and thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Laura. I love the idea about being one of the nymphs sliding down the moonbeam into the water. I felt like we went there with you. Thank you so much.
Anyone gets the chance to go, it's like walking through myths. They really protect their forests, and it's stunning.
Yeah, I liked the phrase you used, the primordial forest. I think that's what we're all trying to connect to. Thank you, Laura. So I'd like to introduce our last guest now, Tanya Batt. Are you there, Tanya? While she comes in, I'll just keep talking about Tanya. Tanya is a powerhouse. She's got so many stories, but she's going, oh, you're there. Hi, Tanya.
Kia ora, Xanthe.
Hi, Kiara. Listen, I wanted you to come last because I think that the things that you've got to share with us kind of sum it all up. We've got goddesses and grandmas and water and you name it, fruits, vegetables, the lot. Can you tell us about your anything, but specifically the goddess garden?
Yes. Well, we're going to go for a little walk in the garden, Goddess, virtually shortly. It'd be lovely to take you into the garden. I just was going to say just how amazingly connected I feel to the various people and your stories this evening. You will meet my grandmother shortly, but when I was lucky enough to go to Mexico, when I stood before the Virgin Guadalupe, I'd been told by my friend Moses, the storyteller, that I should make some request, and my request to the Virgin was that both my grandmothers should pass easily from this world. And the grandmother that we'll see in the garden, she has already passed, but I'm fortunate enough still to have my mother's mother at 96, who I've just been down to see as well. And Laura's wonderful story, and going to Jeju Island, which has this incredible, I've been lucky enough to go there as well with my storytelling, and these has incredibly strong women, wind rocks and women who dive down there. So it's wonderful, the synchronicity of this evening and the stories. But yes, my garden and the Garden Pawn Project. Yeah, I'm a passionate gardener. My home is on Waiheke Island in the Hauraki Gulf, down here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. And I live on an eco-village, which has been going for about 25 years. And while I might live in a very small house, I have a very large garden. And this garden and that land has actually been gardened for probably some hundreds of years, because that whole area was prior to European colonization of Waiheke and New Zealand, gardened by Māori. And there's lots of remnants of that in the garden. But I decided, as someone who's always passionate about garden, one year that I wanted to celebrate it by making a calendar, which we're going to see some pictures from, but here it is, the Organic Garden Pawn Calendar. And this all started because I have some friends who are equally enthusiastic gardeners, and we'd exchange images of our produce, and we would call it garden porn. Oh, look at my tomatoes, oh, look at the size of my zucchini. And so once I decided, I just thought, oh, that's so tongue-in-cheek, I'm going to photograph myself. This is how it all began. I'm going to photograph myself with my broad beans. And it's around about this time of year, actually, that the broad beans are coming into harvest. And very tongue-in-cheek, I called it Broad with Beans. And I thought there's so many wonderful stories associated with our food. And the garden is such an amazing, sensual place, full of cycles of life and death. And sex, basically. The garden's all about sex, really. It's happening around you all the time. And this time of year, because it's spring down here, the garden is alive with all the pollination of all the creatures. So I photographed myself with, I'm not sure if we're going to see any of the images up around and about with us. I'm not sure if people are seeing those. But as each of the harvests came to fruition, I photographed myself with them and spoke a little bit to the histories, and often, like yourself, had an interest in the stories of the goddesses associated with the different vegetables and fruit. And as a woman, I wanted to photograph myself because the whole industry of, pornography and the sexualization of women is, potentially quite problematic when you're putting out visual images. So they were self-portraits of me with my actual produce. So sometimes it proved a little bit difficult to actually pull that off by yourself with a self-timer. So this is, we grow lots of olive trees on the island, and this is our olive harvest. This is a collective harvest that we do. And it was very difficult to basically cover yourself in olives in 3 seconds or 10 seconds with the timer button. So every now and then I had to go and commandeer a helpful neighbor who would come across and hold the camera while I kind of, slathered myself in olives. Or here's another one where I had to bury myself in the earth with the potatoes. This one's called Hoeing potatoes. And I think the olive one was called Like a Virgin Pressed. So had a lot of fun actually coming up with the names, and the calendar was sold as a fundraiser to support local food initiatives on the island where I live. But I have to laugh again with the grandmother connection, because both my grandmothers had copies of these on their walls, which I thought was, fairly broad-minded of them, though I have to say that neither of them had particularly good eyesight, so they're probably just like, oh, a calendar, well, that's so lovely, oh, it's got pictures of you, I'll just pop that up there. And I can just imagine them inviting their friends and going, well, my granddaughter's done a calendar. So
Tanya, I think we're going to show the images after you've shown the film.
Okay.
It was great we didn't, because we wanted to see you and hear all those captions as well. So, but they will be shown in a sec. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. No, that's all good. Yeah. So, yes, and in our conversation yesterday, maybe there is a potential for this idea, which I'm sure, the whole idea of a calendar is not a unique idea, but a goddess calendar would be very wonderful for your 2021 festival.
Yes, well, Tanya, we've been sort of having a bit of a joke around here that, we're all goddesses. And what made me laugh was you said that once you started doing this, friends kept sending you images of themselves. I think you just said that. It's just sort of like, I just strip off and, put the pumpkins in a strategic place.
Yes, well, some fruit and vegetable lend themselves more to, and I have to say, the images are actually, fairly tame in terms of the sorts of images that might. But it was really a whole celebration of my love of growing things and that place of the feminine in the garden, really, which, as I said, is an incredibly sensuous place. And everything that we eat, is part of that process of sex, life, and death, basically.
Absolutely. Yeah. Shall we see that film then? Because it's
gorgeous. Yes, let's go into the garden.
Go into the garden.
To put on my goddess footwear. Right. And we'll begin. Here we come to the bridge. Time to cross the bridge over into the other realm. We give our greetings to the ancient tuna over there, the long-finned eel, and no signs of frogs today. Up the garden path. It's people like to lead us, isn't it? Here we have an acknowledgement that this garden we're about to enter has been tended by many people over many hundreds of years. I'm just over here. We have recognize this figure, the Frida Gardens, and an epitome of a modern day goddess here. Keep going. Hope you don't get motion sickness on the speedy garden tour. This is the garden's heart, and there's various stories from Te Ao Māori, the world of Māori. This is Pani, who goes into the water and gives birth to the Kumara. Here we have Papatua Nuku, the Earth Mother, and Rangi Nui, the Sky Father. Rangi raining his tears down on Papa, making her fecund. Shiva sitting in his cauldron of Shakti. Can we see? Oh, there we are, in amongst all the flowers. Through his meditation, greenery arose. And then out, you have to shut the gate. So there's plenty of rabbit goddess in this garden. Under the cherry yet to bloom is, of course, Kuan Yin sitting in contemplation. The giantess of the garden. The great fish-tailed goddess, reminding us that all life springs from the oceans, the water, the oldest substance here on earth, singing the world into being, and perhaps devouring it in a Kali-like fashion as well in the same breath. It is such a magnificent time of year. If only you could smell these. I'll take them in so you can just sort of, it's an Australian frangipani. Past the most important part of the garden, the composting area. Yes, making good use of all that death and decay here is Flora. Is my ancestor goddess, my Grandma Batt, lives here in my garden. It's time for us to return to Xanthe.
Oh, it's my Baba Yaga. Oh, Tanya, look, I do want to keep chatting, but as we're chatting, maybe we could show those garden images, Adam, from the calendar. Because what I want to say, Tanya, is that I haven't seen you for over 10 years, longer than I think it is anyway. But I came to you for your festival, Once Upon an Island. And it's people like you and Katrina Faber who have a vision and follow it through that has inspired me to even think about doing a goddess festival. So I just wanted to say, you know, that film was amazing. It says it all, and it's not talk. It's, you know, you've inhabited it. You've taken the space of the garden. It's so very, very beautiful. Thank you so much for the inspiration. And I hope that you will continue to be a mentor in this year's journey as we go towards this new goddess festival. Now shut up and let people look at the images.
Well, Xanthe, you've done a wonderful service to us all by, you know, inviting us all to join you under this umbrella. So it's really wonderful making a meeting, albeit digitally, in this very strange year we've found ourselves in. All these wonderful women who are doing all this incredible mahi, this incredible work all around the world. So thank you. And thank you to Mandy and, you know, Laura and all those people who've supported you in making that possible.
Yeah, and Laura and Adam, thank you for thanking everybody. Now, look, we do have a few minutes, I think, and I've seen there's been some amazing things in the chat. One of the lovely things about this Zoom format is it's very intimate and, you know, we're all here together. So if anybody's got any questions for any of the guests tonight, either put them quickly in the question and answer, or just, I don't know, Laura, how would people suddenly leap in and have a chat if they want to?
So if any of the attendees would like to, you can raise your hand, and if you'd like to verbally ask a question, I can bring you through. Otherwise, you can use the Q&A function, or please write something in the chat.
Well, while we're thinking of that, do please keep connected with the Hastings Storytelling Festival website, because I think all information about the up and coming Goddess Festival will probably be there. And then I believe go through to my website, which is obviously Xanthe Gresham Night. You'll easily find that. And keep engaged with the chat and any suggestions you've got. Right.
Well, I might ask Tanya, where can I get your lovely calendar?
Well, you could ask Xanthe if she would show you hers, because I did this project several years ago. So it's not, wouldn't be that useful now, though, who knows, maybe we should randomly pick a year and relive it, given how things are unfolding. But you'll just have to make one of your own. I think this is a very good idea. Everyone should go out and make their own. And of course, this calendar is very much one of the main and only thing that I marked on it was the Maramataka, the moon garden. I garden by the moon through biodynamics, the teachings of Rudolf Steiner. But of course, he was just one in a very long list of people who have used the moon for gardening throughout, many, many different cultures. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, Laura, I will bring you that calendar. I was telling Tanya, I've got a box with all the people I love, kind of cards and things, and often I add to it, and I never look at anything except, but I say, oh, there's that calendar, and I just pick it out. It always makes me laugh.
It's incredible. We've got another question in the Q&A as well, but I was going to say, Tanya, you're risking bootleggers if you don't supply the demand that will inevitably arise from this. We've got a question to you, Xanthe, from Eduardo. He says, is that your kitchen, Xanthe? We have kitchen.
I'm going to get in trouble for this because I said last night that it wasn't my kitchen. It's Kathy, who likes to stay faceless and almost nameless if she could get away with it. But Kathy is the brains behind not only the Goddess trailer, which is a work of genius, but also all the films. It's her kitchen, it's her direction, it's her filming, it's her editing, and she'll kill me for saying it. So nope, can't take any credit for that.
Yay for Kathy.
Yay, exactly. Yay.
So Kathy's done an amazing job, because obviously we've been sharing these videos so far over Zoom, and it's impossible to get the full quality of the absolute masterpieces of work that you and she have created. So obviously when we share the recordings after this, they will be in their full glory. So I recommend anyone, even if you joined us, please rewatch it, because they are absolutely beautiful and deserve far better than what Zoom can offer.
Thank you, Laura. Thanks to everybody. I think we're done.
Nancy, before you go, there was somebody asking about the Goddess Festival.
Right. Sorry, I missed that.
Tell us about the plans.
Yes, the plan, I think it's one of the later weekends in October, Mandy, next year. And we're going to have artists that have been shown this week. Seema Anand is coming tomorrow night. Thank you, that's reminded me. Seema Anand is going to be a big part of the festival. She's got, I don't know, something like 10 million views on her TEDx talk. She can't come because she's doing a massive Diwali celebration. She's another powerhouse like Tanya and Katrina. I hope Tanya will be involved. Katrina Faber, who was with us last night, will be involved. Anna Lines is doing her show on Frida Kahlo. I can't think of anybody else. There's so many. Who else has been on that's coming? I don't know, but they're all listed in the Hastings Storytelling Festival website. There's a little icon for all the people that are showing. Fleur Shorthouse tomorrow is going to be talking philosophy. She's going to be a big part of the Goddess Festival. So yes, check on the website if you want to know who's coming so far. But we know there'll be lots of great artists, Joe Blake Cave, to name one. And whoever we can get.
We're looking at next October, aren't we?
Yes.
Good.
Yes, it's going to be at Hastings, definitely, and then maybe another venue too.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you so much again, Xanthe, and thank you to everybody. I wanted to say, this has all been carefully curated by Xanthe. It's not just happened. She's carefully selected her guests each evening, and it's worked beautifully. So thank you very much. I'm going to just hold up Xanthe's book for anybody that hasn't seen it there. So more about goddesses. Inanna's in there, isn't she? So do sort of look out for that. I think you've written more than one book, haven't you? I've got 2 of your books at least. So we should be helping you and promote those. It's been lovely to be around, strong women that love gardening. It's just music to our ears.
Like Naomi, like Jane.
Yeah, yes. So thank you very much. Thanks everybody. Please leave, messages in the chat for us and we'll keep them all. And hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow night at 7:30. So thank you, Xanthe.
Thank you, Gisella and Tanya and Laura.
Thank you.